Um, Imagine you're a doctor staring at a pediatric medical file that is completely, stumped the best specialists in the world. You've run the genetic sequences, you've consulted the experts, and you still have absolute nothing.
That is just a terrifying position to be in.
It really is. But then you feed that patient's symptoms into an AI model, and literally minutes later, you have a confirmed diagnosis that it was sitting in a disconnected database 3 continents away all along. Today, we are exploring how artificial intelligence is solving the previously unsolvable. Welcome to episode 545 of AI Brief. I am your host, Amin, and I am joined by our co-host, Leah.
So glad you are tuning in with us.
Today, we are tracking a massive talent earthquake at Google DeepMind. We're unpacking that miraculous pediatric AI breakthrough, and we're looking at how this exact technology is quietly crushing the traditional corporate consulting industry.
And those developments really illustrate such a wild split-screen reality for anyone paying attention to the tech sector right now. At the very top, you have this brutal, high-stakes game of musical chairs reshaping the trillion-dollar corporate giants. Yet, down on the ground floor, that exact same underlying technology is driving incredibly specific, deeply personal breakthroughs that are literally saving lives.
We definitely need to start with the people actually building those life-changing models because the battle to retain top-tier talent it's reached a boiling point. The news coming out of Google DeepMind this week is staggering.
It really is.
John Jumper, who is the lead of AlphaFold and, a recently minted Nobel Prize winner in chemistry, just announced he is leaving Google DeepMind to join Anthropic.
Wow. That is a massive loss for them.
Massive. I mean, he spent 9 years at Google. He co-created AlphaFold alongside Demis Hassabis, which fundamentally revolutionized computational biology. And now he is the second massive defection this week alone.
Following Noam Shazir, obviously.
Well, it's exactly following the Gemini co-lead Noam Shazir jumping ship to OpenAI. Jumper was also reportedly helping Google with enterprise coding tools, which is an area where they are currently trailing their rivals. It feels like watching a legendary sports dynasty suddenly bleed its absolute best Hall of Fame players to a cross-town startup. After defining artificial intelligence research for an entire decade, is Google's absolute dominance in science AI legitimately at risk here?
That dominance is absolutely at risk. And, the timeline really explains why. If you look back at 2024 and 2025, Google's models consistently operated right at the bleeding edge of the frontier.
They were untouchable.
Completely untouchable. But 2026 has felt like a definitive step back compared to the sheer velocity we are seeing from Anthropic and OpenAI. And those are the exact two companies currently poaching Google's highest level talent.
Which is just wild to watch unfold.
You have to remember, DeepMind's historical moat, their true advantage, has always been in fundamental science, not just chatbots. Given Jumper's credentials and the sheer magnitude of his contributions to predicting protein structures, losing him fundamentally threatens that scientific lead.
Does he start immediately at Anthropic?
Well, he has stated he's taking some time to recharge, but his official arrival at Anthropic is slated ahead of their major science-focused event on June 30th. Anthropic is aggressively pushing into the exact domain Google DeepMind used to monopolize.
It really highlights that whoever wins the science AI race essentially dictates the future of human health and discovery. And to understand the stakes of that race and the direct impact these researchers are having, we just have to look at what OpenAI accomplished in the healthcare sector.
This story is just incredible.
It really is. Researchers at Boston Children's Hospital and Harvard recently conducted a study utilizing OpenAI's O3 deep research model. They took 376 pediatric genetic cases and fed the model de-identified symptoms alongside a short list of suspect genes.
And these were cases that were already stuck, correct?
Oh, completely. The crucial context here is that every single one of these 376 cases was a specialist dead end. Human experts had already reviewed them for years and come up totally empty. The O3 model was tasked with weighing complex inheritance patterns, scanning vast public databases, and analyzing the absolute latest scientific research.
And what did it find?
The result was 18 confirmed new diagnoses. It effectively solved 4.8% of the cases that had completely stumped the best human specialists on the planet.
The context around that success rate reveals a massive, invisible crisis in healthcare, which we call the backlog problem. Even after a patient undergoes full genetic sequencing, about half of rare disease cases go entirely unsolved. The files just pile up.
Because doctors just don't have the time to look through everything.
That is the core issue. Doctors simply lack the physical bandwidth to continuously cross-reference decades-old cases against constantly updating, widely disconnected global databases. There is a deeply profound detail from the study that highlights this exact bottleneck.
What was that?
In 7 of those 18 solved cases, the correct diagnosis already existed. It was sitting in a public database or documented at another clinic somewhere in the world. It simply had never reached the local patient record because human clinicians cannot monitor the entire global output of medical literature simultaneously.
That is where you really have to look at the mechanics of how this works. Older generation AI was essentially a really fast librarian. You asked for a topic, and it brought you the books containing your search terms. But OpenAI's O3 model operates more like a brilliant detective.
Connecting the dots instead of just handing you the file.
Precisely. It doesn't just fetch the books. It reads them, realizes a tiny footnote in Book A connects to a suspect mentioned in Book B, cross-references that with a local police report, and solves the crime. The O3 deep research model connected the dots that were already sitting there in the data. And, well, that ability to instantly synthesize massive amounts of complex information is solving backlogs in pediatric medicine. It is simultaneously causing massive structural disruptions in the global business landscape. I want to look at the broader market shifts and the rest of today's development, so I will toss it over to you to lead us through those updates.
When you realize that tools like O3 are making highly specialized human labor instantly scalable, it suddenly makes perfect sense why traditional consulting firms are hitting a wall. Accenture shares plummeted 18% last week, dropping to their lowest level since 2017.
18% is a massive haircut for a company that size.
It is huge. This steep decline occurred after the consulting giant cut its revenue forecasts amid a 3% drop in new bookings. Investors are increasingly realizing that artificial intelligence is allowing companies to internally handle the exact analytical and strategic tasks they previously outsourced to large firms. This dynamic is rapidly compressing demand across the entire consulting industry.
It is the ultimate internalization of labor.
Exactly. And if you want to understand how that internalization is happening on a technical level, look at what Sakana AI just launched. They introduced a new platform called Fugu. Fugu is a multi-agent orchestration platform designed to route tasks across various specialist large language models via a single API endpoint.
So it acts like a dispatcher for different AI models.
That is a great way to put it. Sakana claims this multi-agent approach matches the performance of frontier models like Mythos and Fable without relying on just one monolithic system. Early benchmark results are strong, though independent validation is currently pending.
I am definitely keeping an eye on that one.
Shifting gears to hardware and infrastructure, Tesla has officially trademarked the term megapod. The filing describes a bundled, all-in-one system integrating servers, networking equipment, power supplies, and cooling infrastructure specifically designed for AI data center workloads.
Tesla getting into the all-in-one data center game makes perfect sense.
It really does. On the geopolitical front, United States Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick issued a formal warning to ASML. The U.S. government believes an advanced chip-making machine manufactured by the firm has somehow reached China, bypassing strict export controls on frontier chip manufacturing equipment. ASML has publicly denied the claim.
That is going to be a tense situation to watch unfold.
Absolutely. Regarding data sourcing, The Atlantic recently exposed 4 distinct Song datasets currently circulating among AI developers. These datasets contain millions of individual tracks, revealing a massive trove of unlicensed music being utilized to train the next generation of audio generation models.
The copyright battles are just never ending in this space.
They really are. Finally, in the entertainment sector, Amazon MGM Studios has decided to drop the nearly finished Sam Altman biographical film titled Artificial. This decision directly follows Amazon's recent $50 billion investment in OpenAI. The completed film is now actively looking for a new distributor.
The signal coming from the corporate sector there, particularly that Accenture drop you mentioned earlier, is staggering. If you work in a corporate environment, you have probably dealt with expensive third-party consultants who come in for 6 months to analyze workflows and explain digital transformation.
Oh, definitely. The classic 6-month corporate audit.
But now the very technology those consultants were hired to implement is bypassing them entirely. Companies are realizing they do not need to hire a third-party army to analyze their data when they could just give their existing teams hyper-specialized AI tools. Let's actually pause on the Sakana AI Fugu release for a second, because that term, multi-agent orchestration platform, sounds incredibly dense.
It is a bit of a mouthful.
It is. But the concept is vital. Think of an API endpoint like a single front door to a building. Instead of you having to knock on the doors of 5 different AI specialists, one for coding, one for writing, one for math, you just knock on Fugu's door. Fugu acts as the general contractor, taking your request and quietly assigning the subtasks to the best, most efficient models in the back room.
Which takes all the friction out of the process for the end user.
That shift toward highly specific, composable workflows connects directly to the trending tools we are tracking today in this deep dive. We have moved from AI being a generic conversational Swiss Army knife to an entire hardware store of hyper-specific gadgets. Let's run through the standout tools from the source material and look at exactly how you can use them.
I am ready.
First up is GLM 5.2. This is ZAI's powerful new open weights model. The primary use case here is data privacy. Because it is open weights, you can run a highly capable text generation model locally on your own hardware.
Which is huge for enterprise security.
Absolutely. Your sensitive company data never goes to a cloud server, but you still get frontier-level analytical capabilities. Next is Palmier. This fundamentally changes the video editing workflow. It allows you to generate, edit, and export AI video directly within your existing timeline.
Wait, so you don't even have to leave your editor?
No leaving the editor at all. Instead of rendering a clip, uploading it to a separate AI generator, downloading the result, and re-importing it, you can seamlessly integrate AI-generated visual effects without ever leaving your primary editing software.
Video editors are going to love that.
For sure. Then we have Claude Code, which introduces new artifact integrations. This is a massive leap for developers. It allows you to preview your coding work as live, interactive, shareable pages.
So you actually see the front-end result instantly?
Instantly. Instead of prompting an AI and just getting a static block of code back, you instantly see the functional front-end result pop up on your screen. You can then share that interactive preview directly with your team. For deep analytical work, there is the Exaga agent. This utilizes Exaga's API to conduct cost-effective, autonomous web research.
How autonomous are we talking?
Like fully structured multi-step searches. If you need to synthesize global market trends or scrape deeply specialized databases, you just give this agent the parameter and it conducts the research on its own. We are also tracking U.com, which focuses on building trusted AI workflows using composable agents. A key utility here is their use case discovery guide, which helps you identify exactly where and how to implement these different AI agents across an entire organization securely.
Ensuring you are actually solving real bottlenecks and not just deploying tech for the sake of it, I assume.
That is the exact goal. Another incredibly powerful utility is Backgrind. This tool allows you to run AI agents over literally any application on your computer, even video games. It uses computer vision to visually interpret the pixels on your screen.
So it clicks around like a real person.
It sees the screen and clicks just like a human user would. That means you can create custom automation routines across legacy enterprise software that lacks traditional APIs. For visual assets, there is Monoshoot. This turns basic, raw photos into studio-grade e-commerce visuals.
I have seen examples of this. It is mind-blowing.
It really is. You can take a simple smartphone photo of a product sitting on a messy desk, and the tool places it into a perfectly lit, professional studio environment with accurate shadows and reflections. When it comes to raw data extraction, IMG2XL does exactly one thing, but it does it flawlessly. It instantly converts static images of data into fully editable XLSX spreadsheets.
Anyone who does manual data entry is weeping tears of joy right now.
Honestly, yes. Picture this. Someone hands you a crinkled, printed financial report or a screenshot of a massive data table. Instead of spending 2 hours typing it out, you run it through IMG2XL, and it turns into real, manipulatable spreadsheet cells in seconds. Finally, there is Euro. This platform lets you compare different AI models side by side, but it features a memory system that grows smarter over time.
Meaning it learns what you prefer.
Exactly. If you are constantly testing which model writes better marketing copy or which model codes better for your specific architectural style, Euro remembers your preferences across sessions, constantly adapting to your specific workflow.
That Monoshoot tool perfectly illustrates why we are seeing such a squeeze on the broader outsourcing industries that we discussed earlier. It gives massive agency-level production power directly to small businesses.
It democratizes high-end production.
It really does. Previously, a boutique e-commerce retailer had to outsource product photography, rent a physical studio space, or pay a specialized marketing agency. Now they handle it entirely in-house with a smartphone and a subscription. When you multiply that sudden self-sufficiency across video editing with Premiere, or data entry with IMG to Excel, or strategic research with the Exec Agent, you can see exactly why the traditional corporate services sector is contracting so rapidly.
The landscape is shifting so much faster than legacy structures can adapt. And it really brings us back to the most profound point from today's deep dive. Consider that Boston Children's Hospital study again.
The backlog solver.
Yes. If a generalized AI model can solve 18 impossible pediatric medical mysteries just by reading and cross-referencing existing disconnected databases, what other massive life-changing breakthroughs are already sitting latent in our current data, just waiting for an AI to finally connect the dots?
That is an incredible question to leave lingering. It completely shifts the perspective. We spend so much time worrying about generating new data when the most important work right now might just be finally understanding the data we already have. Thank you to everyone for tuning in and exploring these incredible shifts with us today.
Please make sure to follow the podcast and share it with anyone trying to understand where this technology is heading next. See you in the